One.
Good evening. Welcome to another exciting episode of the All In Podcast on the All In Network. It's the real, the jump off. I'm your host, Walter Damager.
And I'm Rob Cooper, the Jetta. Hit me up at Rob Cooper Jr. on Instagram. What's going on, family?
Hey, what's going on, bro? A lot of information dropped this episode, man, with the passing of Chief Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
Yeah,
Ginsburg, right?
it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You know, yeah, and it's been a lot of energy regarding this, and I think first of all, rest in peace to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was, for those who don't know by now, she was an American jurist who served as an associate justice of the Supreme Court of the United States from 1993 until her death in 2020, which was yesterday. She was nominated by President Bill Clinton and was generally viewed as belonging to the liberal wing of the court. Ginsburg was the second woman to serve on the United States Supreme Court after Sandra Day O'Connor, who was appointed by Ronald Reagan in the 80s. Now, following O'Connor's retirement in 2006, and until Sonia Sotomayor joined the court in 2009, Sotomayor, as those remember, was appointed by President Barack Obama. She was the only female justice on the Supreme Court. And during that time, Ginsburg became more forceful with her dissents, which were very noted by legal observers. And of course, around this time, she became a pop culture icon. Ginsburg was born and grew up in Brooklyn, New York. She then earned her bachelor's degree at Cornell University, then became a wife to Martin D. Ginsburg, whose death preceded hers. And also she was a mother before starting law school at Harvard University. And then she transferred to Columbia Law School, where she graduated tied for first in her class. And Ginsburg spent a considerable part of her legal career as an advocate for gender equality and women's rights, winning multiple arguments before the Supreme Court. She advocated as a volunteer attorney for the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, which I'm a proud member of, and also was a member of its board of directors and one of his general legal counsels in the 1970s. Ginsburg received attention in American pop culture, as I mentioned, for her fiery liberal dissent and refusal to step down, even being pressured by some of the right wing conservatives, leading to her being dubbed the notorious RBG, play on the name of rapper, the late notorious B.I.G. Ginsburg died in her home in Washington, D.C. yesterday, September the 18th, 2020, or 2020. And really, she's just an icon, just rest in peace to this, you know, 87-year-old woman who fought the good fight for the American justice system. So now, Walt, really understanding who Ruth Bader Ginsburg was, where do we go from here? We already have seen some of the Republican leadership have chimed in, most notably President Trump is obviously, unfortunately, during a death, is excited to have the opportunity to appoint yet his third seat to the Supreme Court justice. And of course, his right-hand man, Mitch McConnell, who is the Senate Majority Leader, is all too anxious to assist the president with making this happen as quickly as possible, even though we are roughly about 45 days away from the election. So where do we stand here?
Let's take it back to where Obama was at this point in time, in contrast to where we are right now. So we know the Republicans held that vote for Obama in Merrick Garland's situation. So now we're facing that same conundrum coming up now. So as we see it, I don't believe that he should be awarded the opportunity to have another justice placed in. I mean, during the exiting of his presidency going into a new election year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess when
So
we go back
that,
to it, yeah, and going back to it, I think I just want to kind of bring out your thought process. Could that be because of the reasoning that was given by Mitch McConnell, who at that time was also in the same position as the Senate Majority Leader, where he pretty much essentially said that rather than um, nominate Obama's candidate, he said, I think in almost quotes, I don't have the exact quote, but pretty much what he basically said was he wanted to let the American people decide. And at that time, we were like I believe in February of the 2016 presidential election period. So we were, months away, almost 10 months away from a new president being decided. Here it's a little different. We're about 45 days from America deciding the new president.
yeah, like it's real scary right now because the way the Senate is being ran, it's as if they're self-sabotaging. Even though Trump has a lot of things going on that's tied up into the courts, he wants to stack the deck. So anything that is definitely favorable towards him, he wants to be in that best position. And that's why I feel as though there may be a holdup at this juncture. I truly believe that there are still some uh, people in the Senate that have their morals and values still intact. There's still some senators that hold the Constitution intact and don't want to see America go into a great upheaval, which will be for the disappropriation of people and everything like that. But I do think that they're going to hold off on it. I don't think that they're going to move forward with it, even though Mitch McConnell had gave that statement a couple nights ago, or it just happened yesterday. So just the other night,
You know,
that they're quickly to fulfill that spot.
and before this incident and an event happened, we're already seeing a president who's pretty much in the middle of a pandemic and who was pretty much unpopular and was pretty much behind in the polls prior to the pandemic, and now, according to 538. 538.com, Nate Silver's site, which if you're a numbers geek like myself and enjoy following the polls, I highly recommend 538. I've been following that site for about 12 years. In my opinion, one of the most accurate pollsters or polling sites that are out there. Of course, they've received quite a bit of flack, even from the president himself, as pretty much getting it wrong, quote unquote, on in 2016, because they had projected that Hillary Clinton would be the winner, and obviously we know that was not the case. Donald Trump was the winner via the electoral college.
College,
But if you look at the
right?
sheer numbers, I would actually dispute that and say that even in 2016, that Nate Silver's organization was the numbers were accurate, and I don't believe that Hillary Clinton had a electoral issue. She had a turnout issue, but that's another discussion, another topic, and I love to go into the numbers and debate anybody on that. So I believe even still that Nate Silver's website is gives you a really good, accurate snapshot of where the temperature of the country is. And right now, the
Yeah,
electorate out.
they're definitely going by the merits and analytics of it. So
Exactly. And right now, the American public is giving Donald Trump a 22% chance to win, and Joe Biden roughly around 77 to 78%. And those numbers have increasingly over the last 5 days have been moving further and further into the to Joe Biden's favor. You know, Donald Trump did have a slight bump, which all presidents have. It was a convention bump, which they all have outside of their, all the candidates get that outside of their convention. And it's interesting because the media tried to lie and say that it was based off of civil unrest is the reason why. But history and data did not back that narrative up. And of course, you know, now we're about 3 weeks away from all the civil arrests. With that behind us, we see that, you know, Donald Trump continues to slip in the polls and continue to fall behind in states that not only states that he edged out against Hillary Clinton, who, in my opinion, was a much weaker candidate than the candidate that Donald Trump is facing today in Joe Biden. But also, he's now edging back in traditional Republican states. I believe he's behind like 5 to 6 points in Arizona, which has been traditionally a Republican red state for years. As folks don't know too much about, Arizona has a huge Latino population, but it's been particularly a conservative state. But it's been a conservative state, but not necessarily one that has been more to, I guess, the radical right wing approach that Donald Trump has taken this country in. You know, the senators coming out of that, where obviously both folks will remember, you know, Jeff Blake. Is it Jeff Flake? Excuse me, Jeff Flake, and the late John McCain, who were, you know, both opposed to Donald Trump's policies in many cases, and both have, you know, been seen to publicly spar with Trump. Right now, that is starting to play in against Trump right now, as you know, former Senator Flake has been actively campaigning against Donald Trump. In fact, I believe he's come out and endorsed Biden, and we can see, you know, we can see that his actions are starting to show in the polls. And I forget that there was another piece too that could be playing a role in that too. And you may know the gentleman's name. Trump pardoned, I believe, a former racist sheriff. I believe. I think there's some blowback from that. It was Acosta or Ocasio or whatever. Do you remember that?
No, not Texas.
There was a sheriff. There was a
The sheriff.
sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a sheriff in you know, sheriff in Arizona, and I believe that's playing a role too. That he's getting a lot of blowback from pardoning that anti Latino sheriff. So you know, there's a lot of things at stake right here. And I could just say, you know, with the passing of Justice Ginsburg, a lot
I
of
think his name
people.
was Arpaio.
Arpaio, that's right. Joe Arpaio.
Joe
Joe
Arpaio.
Arpaio. That is right. Joe Arpaio. You know, there's been a lot of energy on, as many of you have seen on the social media timelines. What I want to say to, you know, those who follow me and those who are my Facebook friends, you know, I just kind of would like to kind of ease some of your fears. And I'm gonna do this a number of ways. Yes, you have a right to be concerned, but it, ultimately, we still live in a democracy, even though pieces of democracy are being chipped away and taken away from us every day, and particularly at a rapid pace now, as we see that Donald Trump is probably going to lose the election. Or you know, so there's ways to try to keep him in power, things like that we're seeing that's happening. But at the end of the day, this country was built and founded on the Constitution of the United States, and it was founded on the principles of democracy. And the number one tenet of democracy is that it's for the people and by the people, not for the president and by the president, not for the president and by the president's cronies, not
Hmm.
for the Senate and by the Senate, not for the justice and for the justice. No, the Constitution clearly states that we're a country for the you know, for the people and by the people, And I think that, I think instead of us whining and crying, obviously you should be upset and mourn the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, as you would any loved one or any person that you hate to see them leave us on this side. But the reality is, Ruth Bader Ginsburg put her over 50 something years in the justice, fighting for justice for us and fighting for democracy. So what she did leave in place today was a democracy. And we still have that in place. And it's up to you as the people and me to continue to fight like hell to keep that democracy. Remember, Donald Trump, although he thinks he's a dictator, although he thinks he's an autocrat, and although he wants to be an autocrat, he is not. The Constitution disagrees with him on that, and I just think that so understanding that, I mentioned this to you before, you know, I definitely want, some Supreme Court justice with different ideologies to balance things out. But to be quite honest with you, Donald Trump can appoint the next 9. He can appoint 9 Ku Klux Klansmen to that Supreme Court, and I wouldn't blink an eye at it, because I know at the end of the day, as a United States taxpaying citizen, that I'm the one that wields the power. And I know that if I link up with you and unify with you, Walt, that makes 2 of us. And if we find 2
Exactly.
that makes 3 of us. So our unity is more powerful than a nuclear bomb, as one wise man once said. We don't need to go in the streets with weapons or anything like that. Just showing that force. And so, um, you know, I can strongly suggest folks, instead of sitting down and whining on Twitter or whining on Facebook, thinking about what the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg could mean for our democracy, I will say to you is, put your phone down, put your smartphone down, and pick your telephone up and call your senator. If you live in Pennsylvania, call Pat Toomey. Whether he listens to you or not, Walt, you and I actually called him together as
I
part of
was
the
just about to say.
all in politics team.
I was about to say it may not work, but if
the
you want to do it, go ahead and do it.
exactly. We went, as an all in team. We called Pat Toomey. He said, "Hey, this is Walt the Damager and at Rob Cooper Jr. We're from the All In Politics, and we hope that you would vote, for the impeachment of President Donald Trump." Of course, he voted. He voted to stop the impeachment and to acquit Donald Trump. But we did our job as citizens, and I could go to
As
sleep at night.
constituents, exactly. Well, it also needs to be noted that I think that we need to start looking at energy, and I'm not talking about the energy that you put into your house. I'm not talking about the energy that, for lack of better words, I don't know, but energy, people energy. This situation, this moment may be a pivotal move, whereas though Trump was always against Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the Republicans were always against it. And for understanding the political process, when one says to you that there's a conservative judge or a liberal judge, it's just the Constitution. I don't think the Constitution sets the precedence on whether the opinions or the sense that's given rules in favor of one and not rule in favor of the other. It is more so to establish the precedent so you can move forward and judge on things as unconstitutional versus constitutional. So right now it's a polarization because you have a lady that stood for morals and values, and she was, how they call her, a maverick, like she was actually a pioneer in her terms. So to your point, as you said, as far as having these other figures going in there, whether they're in there or not, I think one has to understand the values and the play that these judges are being placed in their positions of power to do for the people. And like you said, if it doesn't go toward the people, then the people can remove them.
That's right.
So that's that. Like you said, we definitely have to galvanize that power. And as a people, we need to have more debates. We need to have more table talk discussions. We need to have more podcasts. We need to have more social media pressing out of the pressing issues of the Americans. Because if not, you're going to have somebody dictate it to you for the rest of your life.
That's right.
You know, so right now, like we had our last podcast, is democracy versus fascism. How you want it? Do you want to have the voice of the people, or do you want to have your voice taken and somebody give you a voice?
And that's a great point. And really, I'm have particularly in the last month, I've stopped going back and forth with Trump supporters, and actually, I'm really kind of focusing my attention on uh, folks, a constituency who I believe actually are more dangerous than Trump supporters, and those are, as we coined a name and phrase for them on social media, as our hotep hustlers, and I think I mentioned to you before. And those who don't know, what we refer to hotep hustlers, these are your woke people. Generally African American, most likely African American folks who are well entrenched in African American history, Black thought, uh, understanding of the have a very good understanding of the Black culture, which I really commend, and I'm certainly for that. And I highly recommend that African Americans continue to reach back and study our history of our ancestors and understand the struggles that we've been through, but not just the struggles that they went through in slavery, but go even well beyond the 400 years, of us here in North America and our trials and tribulations, but even back when we were kings and queens, in our native land. So I encourage everyone. So I definitely don't want to discourage that. But what I think, when you, how they always say, kind of study history or understand history, or you're doomed to repeat it. So in the present time, though, I think you still have to spend some time understanding and doing the work on current events as well. So just as much as you're spending time, researching history, which you definitely have to do. I also believe that, but if you're not spending any time of getting a grasp of what's going on in current events, I think you're doing yourself a true disservice. In fact, I believe that if you don't mix the Hotep history that you're constantly reading and regurgitating, if you're not uh, um, equipped to be able to apply that to um, today's visions and in today's programs, then I think you're I'm just going to say, quite frankly, you're wasting your time.
Indeed. Now, the other thing that I would like to piggyback off you about would be information gathering, uh, data synopsis, again, the metrics and analytics of information. In order for organizations to get a better understanding of the culture, language, education, politics, policies, or whatever else, to gather a more founded agenda to move forward, all people are going to have to gather their information, come together, compile more substantial findings to move forward. You can't have one group saying our information is better than yours, your information is trash, this person is this person is that. You're not going to be able to move as a unit,
right,
if you're not moving collectively.
That's right.
When you see the ant, when you see ants move collectively. It's the big ant, small ant, fat ant, skinny ant, strong ant, weak ant. They all move as a collective for one common goal, and that's of that hive. It's of that clan. So for African Americans, we have the Hotep hustlers, as you may call them. We have the ancient descendants of African Americans. Excuse me. And you have these other fractions. The whole gamut, or the whole synergistic ideology, is to get these groups to fasten together, come up with a more appropriate plan to move forward as a collective, not say that your way is the best way or the highway. You get with your brother, you get with that team, you get with them individuals. Y'all brainstorm, y'all come up with new ways and innovative means to get information and things out to people how you can help as a collective. Because as I see now, you're not going to be able to move forward if you're not cohesive. Unity is the true power, and we learned that from. I
Right.
can even refer back to your
Mm-hmm.
fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi. That's probably one of your tenets. Me
Mm-hmm.
being of the Prince Hall Masonic organization, that's one of our leading tenets as well. As I mean, is faith, hope, charity, and unity.
That's right.
Like
That's right.
brotherhood is the thing that they fear, unity. You know, and until
That's so
everybody else
funny.
sees that, man, we're gonna fall
Yes.
to the wayside.
And that's interesting. And I want to say this to, the Hotep hustlers, and we want to spend some time on it because I really think that it's a discussion that needs to happen in our community. But a lot of, to your point, if you speak to a Hotep hustler, right? And I'll give you an example, and I'm not making light of anything because I consider myself a Hotep hustler at times. So I'm one of you. But one of the things, even as a Hotep hustler, first thing, all the Hotep hustlers do promote is saying, hey, we need unity. We need unity, right? Let's unite. Okay. But it's funny because when you see folks uniting, and I'll just use African Americans just for this example, right? So you see there's 45 million African Americans, okay? And they're all heading in one direction. They're all following this way. And let's just use the electoral process right now. So you say, okay, well, the majority, it's 90%, okay, or 93% of the African Americans are as a voting bloc are going to vote for Joe Biden, right? That's just the way our people are moving, right? And this is accurate facts, okay? However, you're part of a 1%, but we probably need 94%. Okay, let's just use this example to make this move. But because you don't like Joe Biden, and you don't, and by the way, you don't like the other candidate either, you're going to sit this one out, right? So it's 94 people. You know what I mean? There's 94 people that's voting. We need 95 to get us over the hump, to get Joe Biden over the hump of Donald Trump. And you're going to say, well, you know what? I'm going to hold back. I'm choosing not to unite with the 94% who's going to vote for of my people because I don't agree wholeheartedly with the agenda of that particular candidate. So I'm going to hold back, and then I'm going to stop the progress of my group. I'm going to act as an individual. Well, I'm saying, and I look at them, and I'm just saying, you Hotep hustlers, do you understand how big of a hypocrite you look and you sound when we break down the numbers? So I'm not telling you how to vote, but if you can't, I'm just saying this to you though. And once Trump wins, like he did in 2016,
Don't complain.
because we couldn't utilize your vote to vote in a unified effort. Okay,
Don't
don't come
complain.
back to me and say, hey, black people, we need to unify. Well, to me, black folks are unified. They just didn't agree with the direction that you wanted to go. So you chose to take your ball and go home, and you didn't want to unify. I'm gonna give another example. When Trump started running in 2015, I believe he was running against 20 other Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Fox News was against Donald Trump. There was a movement out there called Never Trumpers. Okay, but when it became quite clear and obvious that Donald Trump was going to win the Republican nominee, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Never Trumping movement went away, and they all we created a coalition behind Donald Trump and unified and defeated Hillary Clinton,
Hillary Clinton.
who was part of an ununified party. So I think the moral of the story, as we wrap these things up, is unity. Okay, and it goes, so we can either choose unity or we can throw it all away.
Because
Um,
unity is what?
I said we can either
Unity
use
is power.
unity is power, and we can either
No,
utilize
I'm just saying.
power or
Right.
we can
Unity is power.
throw it away. It's our choice right now. And that's the beautiful thing about this. So, yes, rest in peace, um, Justice Ginsburg. Thank you for your service to our democracy. Thank you for what you fought for. And thank you for planting that seed in my head. And I can't speak for anyone else, the other 300 million American citizens, but thank you for planting that seed in me. And I'm going to continue to unify with like-minded folks who value democracy and keep moving in that direction. Of course, we're not always going to agree with each other, but we will unify to come to a common accord. So that's my promise that I'm making to you, Walt, and to the All in Politics audience.
Especially, exactly, and especially just being a damn humanitarian, man. I mean, from just helping your common neighbor, or just helping body in need, man. I mean, it's just the humanistic qualities in people, and I think that ever since this guy got in office, I mean that component has been lost. Compassion, empathy, and like I said, with the faith, hope, and charity, man, and racism, all those tenets that he embraced is just like everything else went out the window. So whatever age demographic you're in, it took you up to your age ceiling to bring out which was already in you if you were not a regular standard human being. So I mean, just take that in a nutshell, and move from that. I mean, because hey, all we have is us, and in 2020, November 3rd, will tell you where you stand and who you're with. So with that, Rob, you want to give out your salutations and how these fine people can get at you and how they can get at us for any questions?
Absolutely. Yes, another great, impactful show. Again, those of you who are watching us on YouTube, make sure that you obviously like this program, but most importantly, so that you can get those updates and notifications when we come back on. What should they do, Walt?
Man, look, go to that page, grab that device, whether you're using a computer, handheld device, or whatever else. You go to that page, you jump up and down, do a 360 slam, and you smash that subscribe button.
That's right. Smash that subscribe button, and also if you have a show ideal, guest ideal, or you are interested in coming on, particularly those who have more conservative views, I'd love to have you on, and we will love to have the opportunity to discuss politics. This is all in
Engage.
politics, and so
Exactly.
so make sure you hit me up on the gram at Rob Cooper Jr. on Instagram, not Twitter.
Now, Rob, we also want to let them know that we will be upgrading in a couple weeks. So we're still going to have the same platform and the same agenda and speaking points, but it'll be from a different media platform.
That's right. So more to come on that in the next few weeks. In fact, we're going to bring on Elijah Cooper from the All In Network, one of the founders of All In Network, to discuss the new platform and overall just join us as a guest. But we got some exciting things that are coming up here on the All In Network, and we generally are grateful to you, the listeners and viewers who watch us faithfully every week. As we continue to grow, we have to continue to meet your demands for good quality broadcasting through our podcast. So again, stay tuned. Again, stay subscribed, stay up, stay woke, but not so woke that you're not going to vote. So just remember to vote. And just another reminder: if you live in Pennsylvania, I believe the absentee ballots will go out tomorrow. So look in your mail for absentee ballots. If you live nationwide, also, I believe most of the country is acting on the same or similar timelines. But the key point is make a plan to vote. Do not wait until November the 2nd to plan how you vote. Don't care how you vote. I don't care who you vote for, but I am concerned on how you vote. So make sure you have a clear understanding of how you want to exercise your democratic rights here in the United States. Again, the power is and will always remain in the people. And remember that. So don't be discouraged. Don't be despaired. Stand on your faith. Stand on your beliefs. Again, as I mentioned earlier, they can have 9 Ku Klux Klansmen sitting on that bench. Okay. Remember, Thurgood Marshall won cases where that actually was the case, where you had 9 Ku Klux Klansmen sitting on that Supreme Court, and he won. So have that faith, and continue to vote out mediocre, incompetent politicians who don't serve your will, and we'll be all right. And that's all that I
Right.
have for the day, man. Let's close things up, and we'll be back next week with another great All In Politics podcast. So, Walt, take us home.
And there you have it, good brother. Once again, another exciting episode of the All In podcast and All In Network with your host. I'm Walt the Damager.
And I'm at Rob Cooper on Instagram, not Twitter.
There you go. So keep that hope alive and the vote to thrive. November 3rd, we want to see you there. Don't meet me there, beat me
Beat me
there
there.
at the polls. That's right. Until we see and we resume next time, peace.
Peace.